The world held its breath. October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis, a nuclear standoff. The United States and the Soviet Union locked in a tense confrontation. For 13 days, fear gripped nations. At the heart of the crisis lay the discovery of Soviet nuclear missile sites in Cuba. President John F. Kennedy, facing immense pressure, vowed to neutralize this threat. Kennedy imposed a naval blockade on Cuba. But behind this public posturing, a secret negotiation was taking place, one that would ultimately avert disaster. While the world focused on the public standoff, a secret deal was being brokered behind closed doors. The public face of the resolution was the Soviet agreement to remove the missiles from Cuba. But hidden from public view was a crucial element: the US pledge to remove its Jupiter missiles from Turkey and Italy. These Jupiter missiles, deployed in Turkey and Italy, were American intermediate-range ballistic missiles. Armed with nuclear warheads, they posed a direct threat to the Soviet Union. The Soviets had long viewed these missiles as a provocation. The removal of the Jupiter missiles was a significant concession by the United States. This concession, however, remained a closely guarded secret. To acknowledge it publicly would have been politically untenable for Kennedy. The secret agreement underscored the reality that even in moments of extreme tension, compromise and back-channel negotiations can avert disaster. The secret negotiations that resolved the Cuban Missile Crisis were a delicate dance of diplomacy and brinkmanship. At the heart of these high-stakes negotiations were a select group of individuals entrusted with the fate of the world. President John F. Kennedy navigated the crisis with a combination of firmness and restraint. His brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, emerged as a key player in the back-channel negotiations with the Soviet Union. Tasked with establishing a line of communication with Soviet Ambassador Anatoly Dobrinin, Robert Kennedy's diplomacy proved essential in finding a path to de-escalation. On the Soviet side, Premier Nikita Khrushchev found himself in a perilous predicament. Placing nuclear missiles in Cuba had been a gamble, one calculated to bolster Soviet prestige and deter American aggression. However, the American response, the blockade and the threat of invasion, had raised the stakes to an unbearable level. Khrushchev recognized the need for a way out and entrusted Ambassador Dobrinin to convey his willingness to negotiate. The fate of the world rested on the shoulders of these men. Section 4. A timeline of brinkmanship. October 1962 unfolded with a terrifying urgency, each day bringing the world closer to the precipice of nuclear war. October 14, 1962. A US U-2 spy plane captured photographic evidence of Soviet nuclear missile sites on Cuban soil. October 22, 1962. President Kennedy addressed the nation, announcing the discovery of the missiles and declaring a naval quarantine of Cuba. The world held its breath. October 26th to 27th, 1962. With the world on edge, secret negotiations intensified. Robert Kennedy met discreetly with Soviet Ambassador Anatoly Dobrinin. A deal began to take shape, a delicate compromise to avert disaster. The Soviet Union would remove its missiles from Cuba. In return, the United States would pledge not to invade Cuba and to dismantle its Jupiter missiles in Turkey. October 28, 1962. Khrushchev announced the Soviet Union's decision to dismantle the Cuban missile sites. The immediate threat of nuclear war had receded. Section 5. The price of peace. Reactions from Turkey and Italy. The secret agreement to remove Jupiter missiles from Turkey and Italy was met with mixed reactions. Turkey, situated on the front lines of the Cold War, viewed the Jupiter missiles as a vital component of its national security. The Turkish government felt vulnerable despite American assurances of continued support. In Italy, the response was similarly complex. Some Italian officials perceived the removal of the Jupiter missiles as a sign that their country's security interests were being overlooked. Despite their reservations, both Turkey and Italy ultimately prioritized the global need for de-escalation over their individual concerns. The operation, dubbed Operation Pot Pie, underscored the commitment of both the United States and its allies to upholding the terms of the secret agreement. Section 6. A legacy shrouded in secrecy. The secret agreement that helped to end the Cuban Missile Crisis remained shrouded in secrecy for decades. Publicly, the Kennedy administration maintained that the Soviet Union had backed down in the face of American resolve. The removal of the Jupiter missiles from Turkey and Italy was never acknowledged as a bargaining chip in the negotiations. This official narrative obscured the complex reality of the crisis. The cover-up was carefully orchestrated. Documents pertaining to the Jupiter missile negotiations were classified, hidden away from public scrutiny. The Kennedy administration's decision to conceal the true nature of the deal had lasting consequences. It fueled a culture of secrecy and mistrust, hindering a more nuanced understanding of the Cold War. Section 7. Truth Unveiled: The Historical Significance. The truth eventually emerged. Declassified documents released through the efforts of historians and archivists shed new light on the back-channel negotiations that helped avert nuclear war. The world finally learned the extent of the compromise, the concessions made by both sides to step back from the brink. The revelation of the secret agreement enriched our understanding of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It underscored the complexities of Cold War diplomacy, the delicate dance of brinkmanship and negotiation that characterized